Disclaimer: this story is based on real events shared with permission. Names and some details have been changed to protect privacy. Viewer discretion is advised due to themes of emotional conflict and relationship tension. He slept in the guest room that night, and I told myself it was normal. People have disagreements. Sometimes you just need space. That's what I kept repeating in my head, again and again, like a broken record. But deep down, something didn't sit right. Something about the way he closed the door behind him. Too quickly. Too quietly. Almost like he was relieved to be sleeping somewhere else. We'd been married for 7 years. Not perfect years, but steady ones. We had our routines, our little arguments, and our moments of laughter. We had a life that looked good from the outside. But lately, there had been distance. The kind you can't see, only feel. Like when you talk and it's only about bills or groceries. Like when the silence between you stretches too long and it's more uncomfortable than peaceful. That day had started like any other. Morning coffee, the usual rush to work, a quick goodbye at the door. But I noticed his phone buzzing more than usual. And not the normal group chats or work messages. He was being secretive. Locking his screen every time I glanced over. Holding it just a little too close to his chest. I didn't say anything. I told myself I was being paranoid. Until after dinner, when he suddenly said he was going to sleep in the guest room, just for tonight. He gave some excuse about not feeling well and not wanting to keep me up. Said he'd had a headache all day. I nodded, pretending to believe him. But inside, I felt a cold chill that had nothing to do with the temperature. That night, I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, trying not to spiral. But every little sound in the house felt louder. Every thought felt heavier. And then, just around midnight, I heard something. A faint noise from the hallway. Not footsteps, something else. Like a whisper. Then a soft click. A door opening. But not mine. I sat up, heart pounding. I told myself it could be anything. The house settling. Maybe he just got up to get some water. But something urged me to listen harder. And that's when I heard it, his voice. Low. Muffled. But not alone. There was another voice. A woman's. Soft. Familiar, but not mine. I couldn't breathe for a second. My throat tightened. I got out of bed slowly, quietly, careful not to make the floor creak. I moved closer to the hallway, trying to make sense of what I was hearing. Maybe it was a video? A phone call? I clung to any excuse that would make this okay. But the closer I got, the harder it was to deny. There was someone else on the other side of that guest room door. And they weren't just talking. I stood there, frozen. My hand inches from the doorknob, but I couldn't bring myself to touch it. My heart was hammering so loud I thought it might give me away. I didn't know what I would find if I opened that door. Part of me wanted to know. The other part wasn't ready. In that moment, everything changed. Every doubt, every question I'd buried for weeks, maybe months, it all came crashing down in a single heartbeat. I had always thought I'd know if something like this ever happened. That I'd see it coming. But when it does, it doesn't feel like a dramatic movie scene. It feels quiet. Slow. Like drowning without splashing. I stepped back, not sure what to do. I didn't want to scream. I didn't want to cry. I just wanted answers. But I knew if I opened that door, there'd be no turning back. I had to make a choice, and I only had seconds before they'd know I was standing there. And just when I thought I'd walk away, the door opened from the inside. Slowly. And what I saw next, I'll never forget. To be continued. The door opened just enough to let out a strip of warm light, spilling across the hallway floor. I held my breath, frozen in place like a statue. My heart thudded in my ears. He stepped out first, still in his t-shirt and sweatpants, the same ones he'd gone to bed in, but his face looked different. Tired, yes, but not surprised. Not even nervous. He didn't see me right away. He turned back toward the room and whispered something I couldn't hear. That's when I saw a figure move behind him. A woman. Barefoot. Hair messy. Wrapped in one of my old hoodies. My blood ran cold. I took a step back into the shadows, my mind racing to make sense of it. Who was she? How did she get in? Why here? Why now? Was she someone I knew? Was she someone he knew? A friend? A stranger? I had so many questions, but not a single answer. They didn't even shut the door completely. He leaned against the frame for a moment, checking his phone, looking calm, too calm. Like this wasn't the first time. Like this had been planned. He didn't even glance in my direction, didn't sense that I was standing just a few feet away, watching everything come apart. I stepped back into our bedroom and shut the door softly behind me, careful not to make a sound. My hands were shaking. My legs felt weak. I sat on the edge of the bed, staring at the wall. Was this real? I didn't want to jump to conclusions, but what else could it be? Who sleeps in the guest room and brings another woman with them under the same roof as their wife? The weird part is, I wasn't angry. Not right away. I felt numb. Like my body hadn't caught up to the truth yet, but my mind was wide awake. I started remembering little things. All the nights he worked late. All the times he'd pulled away when I tried to get close. The way he always changed his phone password every few weeks. The sudden golf weekends with friends I never met. It all started clicking into place, one piece at a time, like a horrible puzzle I didn't even know I was solving. I thought about the woman in the guest room. She looked young. Too young. Not someone from his office, probably. Maybe someone he met online? On an app? My stomach turned just thinking about it. Was this someone he cared about? Or was I just the one he stopped caring about? I didn't sleep that night. I just lay there with my eyes open, staring into the dark. The silence between the walls felt louder than ever. I could hear the faint creak of the hallway floor now and then, a muffled laugh, a soft door click. It was like my house didn't belong to me anymore. The next morning, he acted like nothing happened. Came into the kitchen, poured himself coffee, even kissed me on the forehead. I almost laughed, or screamed. Or both. But I said nothing, just watched him from across the room, my hands wrapped around my own cup, trying to stay steady. I didn't ask where she went. I didn't ask why the guest room smelled like perfume that wasn't mine. I didn't even ask why his hoodie was gone. I was waiting for what? I wasn't sure. Maybe for him to tell me the truth. Maybe for a moment where it would all make sense. But he didn't offer anything. He just sipped his coffee and scrolled his phone, like he hadn't just torn our life in half. And that's when I knew this wasn't an accident. This wasn't a one-time mistake. This was a choice. A slow, careful one. He had made a second life, right here, right under my nose. I knew I had to find out the truth. All of it. Who she was. How long this had been going on. And what else he was hiding. Because something told me this was just the beginning. I started watching him differently after that night. Not just like a wife, but like someone who was looking for cracks in a mask. Every word he said, every movement, every excuse, I analyzed it. He thought I didn't know, but the truth sat with me all day, heavy and quiet. I didn't confront him, not yet. I wanted to be sure. Not just of what he was doing, but of how far it had gone. I needed to understand who I was really married to. That morning, I followed him without planning to. He left for work like usual, same rushed goodbye, same phone glued to his hand. But something in me snapped. I got in my car and stayed just a few blocks behind him, hands sweating on the steering wheel. I told myself maybe he really was going to the office. Maybe I was being dramatic. But 20 minutes later, he pulled into a small apartment complex on the other side of town. He didn't look around. He just parked like he'd done it 100 times before. I waited. Watched. A few minutes later, she came out. Same girl from that night. Her hair was pulled back now. She looked comfortable, too comfortable. She hugged him like they belonged to each other, and he smiled in a way I hadn't seen in months. They went inside together, and I sat there, frozen. I didn't cry. I didn't even blink. I just kept staring at the spot where they disappeared, trying to process what this meant. Back at home, everything looked the same, but nothing felt the same. I started digging. Old texts, bank statements, social media. He had a second phone. I found the bill for it buried in an email folder he never thought I'd check. There were dozens of calls and messages to one number, the same one he had been glued to every night. I also found something else, hotel charges on weekends. He said he was out of town for work. Some of them matched up with the days we'd fought, when he left in the middle of an argument and didn't come back until the next day. One of those weekends was right after my birthday. He had said he had a conference he couldn't miss. And then there was the lie that hurt most. He hadn't been fired from his last job like he told me. He'd quit, suddenly, after someone had reported inappropriate behavior. I found the HR letter. No names, no details, but enough to put things together. Maybe this wasn't the first time. I couldn't help but wonder who else knew. Had his family guessed? His friends? Were they covering for him, or just too polite to say anything? Or worse, did they think I already knew and just accepted it? And then there was the girl. Was she just caught in the middle, or did she know about me? Did she know she was sleeping in the guest room of a married couple's home? The thought of her walking through my hallway, laughing with him, maybe touching things that were mine, it made me sick. I was living with a stranger. A man who could smile at me in the morning and lie straight to my face without a flicker of guilt. Every time he touched me now, I flinched, even if I didn't show it. I didn't know if it was anger or fear or both. But I knew one thing clearly. He wasn't just cheating on me. He was living a double life. And I needed to know how deep it really went. Because I had a feeling I hadn't uncovered the worst part yet. I couldn't keep pretending anymore. Every word he spoke felt like it was dripping with lies. Every smile, every gesture, it all seemed rehearsed. Like he was playing the role of a loving husband while sneaking off to live another version of his life. And I was tired of being the fool in his carefully scripted story. I started taking notes. Quietly, carefully. Times he left the house. Places he said he was going. Phone calls that didn't make sense. I even started recording some of our conversations, just in case I needed proof later. The guest room stayed empty after that night, but I never stopped feeling its presence. Like the air in there was still thick with secrets. I cleaned it one day, thinking it would help me feel normal again, but I found a silver earring behind the dresser. Not mine. I don't even wear silver. One night, he told me he had to work late. I didn't say anything, just nodded. Then I got dressed, grabbed my car keys, and left 5 minutes after he did. I knew where he'd be, apartment 3B. I parked farther away this time, out of sight. Waited. I saw the lights come on upstairs, and then I saw them standing by the window, laughing. His hand on her waist. Her leaning in close. Like I didn't exist. Like our marriage didn't exist. I wanted to go up there. Knock on the door. Ask her if she knew I was his wife, not some ex or estranged partner he had already left behind. But something held me back. Maybe it was the fear of what I'd see. Or maybe I wasn't ready to confront the final truth out loud. A few days later, I got a message from an unknown number. No name, no greeting, just a photo. It was them. At a restaurant I'd never seen before. His arm was around her. She was smiling, wearing the same hoodie I thought I had lost months ago. My hoodie. And under the photo, 5 words, "You deserve to know everything." My stomach dropped. Was someone else watching him too? Was she involved with other people? Was this bigger than just the two of us? I felt like I was standing at the edge of something dark and dangerous, and I didn't know how far the fall would go. I knew it was time. I couldn't just watch anymore. I needed to act. I needed to face him. Because what I was about to uncover next would change everything. That photo kept replaying in my head, like a warning I couldn't ignore. But it wasn't just the image, it was the message. You deserve to know everything. Someone out there knew more than I did. Maybe even more than he thought anyone knew. I didn't reply to the number right away. I waited. I wanted to see if they'd say more. And the next morning, they did. A video. I nearly dropped my phone watching it. It was taken from outside that same apartment complex. It showed him and the woman, only this time they weren't alone. A little boy, maybe 4 or 5, ran up to him, calling out, "Daddy." My heart stopped. He bent down, scooped the child up in his arms, and kissed his forehead like it was the most natural thing in the world. The woman stood by, smiling like this was just another day in their perfect little world. My mind raced. Had he fathered a child? Was that why he was so secretive? How long had this been going on? And worse, did he plan to replace our life with this one? I stared at the screen, numb. This wasn't just cheating anymore. This was another family. Another life. He wasn't just lying to me, he was living a whole second existence. And the more I thought about it, the more things started to click. The missed anniversaries. The sudden business trips. The quiet guilt in his eyes that I used to brush off as stress. And then it hit me. The person sending these messages, they weren't just trying to expose him. They wanted something. Maybe revenge. Maybe to destroy him. Or maybe to drag me into something far more complicated than I'd ever imagined. I wasn't just part of an affair anymore. I was part of a secret that someone else wanted out in the open. And it was about to explode. I finally confronted him. I waited until he came home late again, smelling faintly of cologne that wasn't his. I had the video queued up on my phone. No screaming, no drama, just silence. I handed him the phone and watched the color drain from his face as the video played. He didn't even try to deny it. He just sat down, hands trembling, like the weight of every lie he'd told had finally crushed him. He admitted it all. The affair. The child. The second apartment. He said it started as a mistake, but grew into something he couldn't escape. He claimed he still loved me, that he never meant to hurt me, but the words felt hollow. I had heard enough. I told him I was done. There was no fight left in me, just clarity. He'd built a life on secrets, and now he could keep them. But the real twist came later that week. The unknown number texted me again, this time asking to meet. Against my better judgment, I agreed. We met in a quiet cafe. It was a woman. Older than I expected. She introduced herself as his first wife. My heart dropped. She told me he had done the exact same thing to her. Married. Cheated. Had a child. Built a second life, me, without ever ending the first. She'd been trying to track him for years. When she found out about me, she decided it was time to end the cycle. She never stopped loving him, she said, but she refused to stay silent anymore. I thought I was the wife he betrayed. But I was just part of a long pattern. The truth? I wasn't the first. And I might not be the last. After that meeting, everything became clear. I wasn't just a victim of infidelity. I was one of many women tangled in a web of lies spun by a man who never truly stopped pretending. The other woman, the child, even the secret apartment, it was all part of a pattern he'd repeated before, just with different names, different faces. The truth was painful, but it set me free. I no longer needed answers from him. I had them all. I filed for divorce quietly. There were no dramatic fights, no scenes. Just a lawyer, some signed papers, and a goodbye that didn't deserve words. He tried to apologize, to ask for a second chance, but there was nothing left to save. What he broke couldn't be fixed with promises or regrets. And I wasn't going to be part of his cycle any longer. The other wife and I stayed in touch for a while. There was comfort in knowing I wasn't alone, that someone else understood the hurt and betrayal. We both moved on in our own ways. Stronger, wiser, quieter. I still think about that night sometimes, the one when he slept in the guest room and everything changed at midnight. It was the moment that shattered my world, but also revealed the truth I needed most. If there's one thing I learned from it all, it's this: secrets always come to the surface, no matter how carefully they're buried. And sometimes, heartbreak is the first step toward finally coming home to yourself. 4.